My name is Thomas, and I bought the old house on Chestnut Street for the memories. Not my memories, of course. I didn't have any of this place. But I bought it for the memories it promised. It was a two-story Victorian, the kind with a sprawling attic and a deep, stone-walled basement. A place where a family could grow, where holidays could be celebrated, where a life could be built and remembered. I moved in during the autumn. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of unpacking boxes, painting walls, and learning the house's unique language. The groan of the stairs, the rattle of the pipes, the way the wind whistled through the eaves. The attic was the last space I tackled. It was a vast, triangular space filled with the dusty detritus of the previous owners. Old furniture shrouded in white sheets like sleeping ghosts, stacks of yellowed newspapers, a child's rocking horse, silent and still. I didn't hear anything. That's the first thing I need to make clear. This isn't a story about strange sounds in the night, about bumps or scorches or whispers in the dark. The thing in my attic was silent. Its work was silent. And that was the most terrifying part of it all. It started with small things. Trivial things. I'd walk into the kitchen, stand in front of the open refrigerator, and have no idea what I came for. I'd pick up my phone to call someone, only to forget who as my thumb hovered over the screen. We've all been there. I dismissed it as stress, the mental fog of a big move, the cost of doing business. Then, the gaps became more significant. One morning, I was making coffee, and I couldn't remember my mother's maiden name. I stood there, the smell of coffee brewing, a cold dread washing over me. As I stared at a complete blank, I knew that I knew it. The knowledge was there, somewhere, but the path to it was gone. It was like a word on the tip of your tongue, but instead of a word, it was a piece of my own history. After 10 agonizing minutes, it came back to me in a rush. I laughed it off, my heart still hammering. I was just tired. But it kept happening. I forgot the name of my best friend from college. I couldn't recall the plot of my favorite movie, the one I'd seen a dozen times. Each time, the memory would eventually return, but it would feel different, faded, like a photograph left out in the sun, the colors bleached and the edges curled. It felt like I wasn't truly remembering it, but being told about it for the first time. My work, which required a sharp memory for details, began to suffer. I started leaving sticky notes everywhere, little yellow flags against the encroaching fog. My house became a forest of reminders. Call your sister. Dentist appointment Tuesday. The dog's name is Buster. It was that last note that finally broke me. I had written it after standing in my own backyard for 5 minutes, staring at my golden retriever, his name a complete and utter void in my mind. Buster. His name was Buster. How can I forget that? At night, I sat at my kitchen table, a bottle of whiskey and a half-empty glass in front of me, and I tried to think. I tried to find a pattern. The memory loss was getting worse, more frequent. It was always personal memories. Facts, figures, things I'd learned from books, they were all intact. But my life, my own experiences were being systematically erased. And it had all started after I moved into this house, after I had spent time in the attic.
On a hunch, I went up there. The air was cold and still. I shone a flashlight around the cavernous space, the beam cutting through the thick, dancing dust motes. Everything was as I had left it. The shrouded furniture, the stacks of newspapers, the silent rocking horse. I walked the length of the attic, my footsteps echoing in the profound silence. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I just had a feeling, a deep, primal sense that the answer was here. And then I saw it. In the far corner of the attic, almost hidden behind a tall oak wardrobe, was a pile of something. It looked like a nest. It was a large, tangled mass of things. I knelt, my flashlight beam trembling. It was made of strips of wallpaper, strands of human hair of different colors, pieces of old photographs, scraps of fabric from clothing, and my sticky notes. All of them. The ones from my desk, my fridge, my bathroom mirror, they were all here, woven into this strange, horrifying nest. And in the center of the nest was a creature. It was curled up, asleep. It was pale and hairless, its skin a translucent, waxy white. It was about the size of a large dog, but its limbs were too long, its joints bending at unnatural angles. It had no eyes, no nose, just a small, puckered mouth that twitched and pulsed as it slept. It didn't make a sound. It just lay there, in its nest of stolen memories. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that it was feeding on them. It wasn't eating the notes, it was consuming the meaning behind them. It was a parasite that fed on the past. I backed away slowly, my heart a frantic drum in the silence. I didn't run, I didn't scream. I just went downstairs, locked the attic door, and sat in the dark, trying to comprehend what I had seen. A memory thief. A creature that lived in the quiet spaces of my house and sustained itself on my life. I had to get out. I knew that. But as I started to pack a bag, I stopped. Where would I go? I couldn't remember the address of my sister's house. I couldn't remember the name of the town I grew up in. The creature was working faster now, its appetite growing. It was no longer just taking memories. It was taking the connections between them. It was taking my ability to navigate my own life. I am writing this now because I know my time is short. The creature is no longer content with the attic. I can feel its presence in the house, a cold spot in the corner of a room, a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. It is silent, always silent, but I can feel it getting closer. It is hungry. This morning, I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the man staring back at me. I knew logically that it was my face, but I had no connection to it. The memories that made that face mine, the scar on my chin from falling off a bike, the laugh lines around my eyes from 1,000 shared jokes, they were gone. I am becoming a stranger to myself. I can hear a faint rustling from the corner of the room. Not a sound, really. More like the feeling of a sound. The dry, papery rustle of a memory being stolen. I don't have much left. I think my name is Thomas. I live in a house. I don't remember where. There is a creature here. It is silent. It is hungry. And it is